The long-awaited successor to the A7C came out yesterday, and we got not one, but two cameras from Sony, the A7C II and the A7CR. Now, while I think both of these cameras are good cameras, I don't know exactly where they fit within Sony's lineup, and let me explain. So the A7C II is essentially a stripped down version of the A7 IV, which has been out now since 2021, and it is still one of the best selling cameras out there. Dollar for dollar, you cannot beat it. In fact, I've got one right here, and this is the one that I use pretty much every day. Now, the thing is, the difference between the A7C II and the A7 IV comes down to essentially software, right? It has this additional AI chip, and it does pose estimation and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the reality is most people aren't going to use that stuff. I actually had the A7R5, and I found that new AI chip with all the different autofocus modes and subject detection and all kinds of stuff that I had, it actually slowed me down in my process of actually taking a picture or shooting video. So I think less is more, as long as what is the less actually works, which this A7 IV still does tremendously well. Now, the other thing is this does have dual card slots as opposed to the A7C II, which only has a single card slot. So for me, I'm just a hobbyist. I mean, I do shoot, I'll say professionally for my real estate business, but overall, I really don't necessarily need the dual card slots, but it is certainly a nice feature to have, especially if you're traveling, because then you can have redundancy built in. And God forbid, if you go somewhere, you spend thousands of dollars on some location that you're traveling to, and then you get home and you find out that you have a corrupt SD card, you are not going to be a happy camper. So even though people say like, oh, you need dual cards for professional use, I would argue that you need dual cards even just for personal use. But there are some caveats there. We're going to get to that in just a second. Okay, so the A7C II, for the price point of $2,200, this is on sale, I think, for $2,400. It's $200 price difference. It's marginally larger. It's really not that much bigger than the A7C II, so I would pick the A7 IV all day long, twice on Sunday. Now let's talk about the A7CR. Now this is an interesting camera because they've got that 61 megapixel sensor crammed into that small little body. And I think on the surface, it sounds like a great camera, but when you actually look at the usability of that camera, I just don't think it's going to be great for the intended audience. Now, the intended audience is probably someone who's looking for a higher end, I want to say street or travel camera. And the reality is that the A7R5, because of the way that the screen, that four-way axis on that screen is designed, it's actually more discreet than something with, say, a flip-out screen. So as soon as if you travel, and I'm sure most people do, and you bring your camera with you, which I know a lot of people that watch this channel obviously do, when you swing that screen out and you're traveling, like, people notice. It draws attention to you. So all of a sudden, people act differently when you have a camera like that and you've got the screen out. Now, alternatively, and I don't have the A7R5 anymore because I did sell it, but if you just flip up the back of the screen, that's a very different, because now you can shoot it down low and you can be looking down and it looks like you're just, fiddling with your controls as opposed to actually taking a video or, shooting video or taking a picture. So that is something to consider. And then the specs themselves with the LCD on the back on the A7R5 versus the LCD on the A7CR, as well as the EVF, it's like no contest. That A7R5 has a fantastic screen on the back, and the EVF is a dream EVF. It really is like real life when you're looking through that EVF. Not that the A7 IV is bad, but the A7R5 is really, really good. Man, I hate these Sony names, but that's beside the point. Now, here's the thing. So at $3,000 for the camera body only with that A7CR, I would argue that there are other options out there that could potentially be a better fit, especially for someone who's looking for just a stills camera, which I think the majority of the people who are looking at that A7CR are looking for. And namely, I'm thinking of some other point and shoot cameras. So think about maybe an X100V. if you can get one. I know they're extremely difficult and they're extremely rare to be able to buy one right now. But if you can find one, perhaps used, you're going to pay a huge premium for it, but it's still going to be less expensive what the A7CR is going to be. In addition to that, the A7CR at $3,000, then you got to outfit it with a lens, right? So now you've got to add, let's say you go with the 24 2.8 just to keep it fairly compact. That's like another $500-600. So you're into it for, let's say $3,600 at that point. For $3,600, if you're looking for like a good high megapixel camera that you can travel with, that takes fantastic pictures, this is the one that you should be looking for. This is a Leica Q2. You can buy these for under $4,000 at this point, now that the Q3 is out. And this is a phenomenal stills camera. The build quality is excellent. It has this gorgeous 28mm 1.7 lens. And the files that you get out of it, the raw files, are just unbelievably good. So if you're a still shooter, I think you'd be crazy not to put that same amount of money towards something like this as opposed to an A7CR. But those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. I will not be purchasing either one of those cameras because it really doesn't suit my shooting style. I think if I'm going to go for something that is a hybrid, I'm going to want something with a good EVF and something that's a little bit easier to handhold. I mean, shooting video, I actually tried the A7C, just the original one, in my camera store, and I didn't really like it very much, especially for hybrid use, because if you're trying to hold it for video use, it's not meant for that. I don't know. It just didn't work very well. I've got larger hands, so maybe that's the issue. And I know they have that extension on the A7CR that comes with it at that $3,000. But again, if you're going to put an extension on there, just get a bigger camera. Even this has an extension on it. You know, this has a base plate from Small Rig. So I just like a bigger, beefier camera. It's more comfortable, more ergonomically sound. I can carry it pretty much all day in my hand so that when the opportunity presents itself, I already have it in my hand and I'm just shooting away. So that's my style. That may not be your style. So if you are someone who likes something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, let me know down in the comments whether you are going to be pre-ordering either one of these two cameras, or if you think these two cameras are a phenomenal value, I'd love to hear that too. So again, let me know down in the comments below. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching. Take care.